2019. I am your happy healer for president, Keith Landi, and we have a very special program for you. There are so many things that we have to cover during this program. Definitely we need to cover so much because, for one thing, so many of you don't even realize that right now we are in a new spiritual age. And it is our goal to take our entire humanity there with us. Let's win this, folks. Okay, so it's time to realize that you do need me, and I need you, and that we all need each other, and that guess what? It's the way it was meant to be the whole time. Now let's go prosper together. We believe that lying is okay, and that is a cancer on our individual perception. It's breaking down society, which I argue is behind some of our recent uptick in shootings. And when you have the kind of technology that we have today, and you take freedoms from humanity, especially in America where it's founded on freedom, and you stress that individualism even greater, you make self-determination questionable, as if it fails in trying times when individuals know themselves capable of following through, and all it ever took was love, and that love will conquer evil over time, and we have it in us, that greed, and that's the way we get every job done these days. And it was part of the last two age of enlightenments, but not this one, folks. We have to separate ourselves from the greed that provides, and that's why we have capitalism 2.0, so that we can keep America with a free market system that can provide for its people instead of having people being the human engine to that development, which there will be so much development, and there will be a lot of work to do. We have to make a new robotic engine for this industry of technology that's to come. And I see people all over, and I see them on social media, and they say things that don't hold water, and that the truth around us is so clear for us to see, and instead that they just stoke resentment and lies that back up the point of view that they have rather than humility and love. They're using the egocentric viewpoints, which leads to devastating effects in humanity. While we know that this is true, the hard part has always been conveying in this culture and explaining a message to a populace with so little time. If you supply them more time, I contend that we'll be able to see, and the brightest minds in this country concede that doing that will change humanity, and we need to do that. Elon Musk says he's scared of things that we can't cope with when we have more time. And I say it's the only way to have the world that even Elon Musk wants to live in. And I bet that if he heard my views, that he would share my views as well. Elon Musk says as well that we have to be ready for this, and income for all is the way to go. And he's one of many people that are forward thinking on this issue. And you better believe your happy and zealous happy healer who loves science and studies science every moment he gets, because that's how we get to God's truth, in my view. So I put real effort into being informed. And that's the kind of president that we all need. And some feel like that we're not being listened to, and I understand those concerns. I have those same exact feelings. So many people that don't know what I know, and yet they shoot me down in an instant. And just as I tell you, they did not spend equal time studying the path of life that I have took, or have the key to my perception. How dare they? Because not only do they sell us short when they do that, but they sell themselves short too. So it means it'll take longer for them to ascend and for all of us to ascend, when those with common sense realize it's the only way to improve life in a meaningful way. So people seem to be locked into their current thinking, not realizing it's possible, and they lack that vision. They think things that they just lack that true faith. It's up for us to restore that, and then we can get to the business of our awakening. Our own American spirit must be woken up, folks. Our culture is the place we have the greatest effect on. And on a side note, that is in part why I am running for president. If this country is really having an awakening, then I have the skill and I am part of that awakening, which makes me a great candidate. So many people, they are asleep, and we just are all part of the same human spirit. And it's best lived and happiest played when participated by the masses. Right now, I feel pretty alone at this particular party, and so many other people do as well. And we feel so special, and that's besides the point. There is a fact that people have no time to explore their best selves, to live a higher purpose-driven life like they seek, because life is otherwise very selfish and subsequently lonely anyway. So even though I'm lonely, you're lonely too. We are all lonely because greed is holding us all back. Yet I am happy in my own love, and the more that people we bring to a place of love, the more we all win together in the collective element of love in which we are all participants. Love is a huge compounding factor in society, and that is the best way and highest order to live one's life. The human beings would be highly sought after as a happy healer, and that to me is being a happy healer. I would like to now share with you some information on our previous Age of Enlightenment so that you can have some expectations and some ideas and what those needs are. And I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about a bit more. And so let's transition. I'm going to talk about the previous Age of Enlightenment. Because in truth, and unless we actually realize why we have to go into this Age of Enlightenment now, then we're not really talking about the things that we're experiencing that's so true for so many of us, and we're experiencing those things right now. So that's why it's so important, and let's go ahead and get this underway. As we get into the 1500s, the Renaissance has been going on for roughly 200 years, especially Europe. It has been rediscovering the knowledge from the Greeks and from the Romans. As they enter into the 16th century, they start to go beyond the knowledge of the Greeks and the Romans. In 1543, Nicholas Copernicus publishes on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres, famous for suggesting the earth is not the center of the universe, but that the earth revolves around the sun. What was powerful about this is it challenged centuries-old ideas about how the universe worked. And at a meta level, it was about using new methods and evidence in order to make a conclusion, no matter how revolutionary those conclusions might be. And in this publication, it often cited as the beginning of what will be known as the scientific revolution. Many people view the capstone of the scientific revolution to be Newton's publication of Principia in 1687. And this is an incredibly powerful publication. It describes the laws of the universe. It's a universe in which most things can be explained with simple principles with mathematics. This is so powerful that it would not be challenged for almost 200 years until Albert Einstein comes on the scene with his theory of relativity. But even today, Newton's laws, this is what is taught in the first years of physics class, and this is what you'll learn in introductory engineering class. So there's many things to think about, and why did this happen in this period of time? And how was it related to the Renaissance? And how is it related to the things that are happening in politics in Europe at the time? But people, needless to say, it gave humanity a new perspective. and it gave the universe, and it began to challenge those assumptions. And so we get into the late 1600s and the early 1700s. People start trying to use these same tools. It's the same deductive reasoning on some of the oldest questions that humanity has ever asked itself. Questions like, what rights do we have as human beings? Who gets those rights? What duty and obligations do we have towards each other? What is the role of government? Who has the right to rule? Now, some of these questions have been the fodder of philosophers and religions for thousands of years, but now there was the power of the tools and the challenging notions of the scientific revolution. So the philosophical movement that really was tied to the scientific revolution is known as the Enlightenment. And just to have an example of the thinking during the Enlightenment, here's a passage from John Locke, who is considered one of the pillars of Enlightenment. This is published in 1689, and it is concerning the civil government. The state of nature is a law of nature to govern it, which obliges everyone. And reason, which is that law. So reason is the law of nature to govern. It teaches all mankind who will but consult it that being all equal and independent, no one ought harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. And when his own preservation comes not in competition, ought he, as much as he can, preserve the rest of mankind, and may not, unless it be to justice on an offender, take away or impair the life or what tends to the preservation of the life, the liberty, health, limb, or goods of another. And a part what he's saying is the reason of this natural law that should govern human action. And he's saying that no one ought to harm anyone else. And that if we're not in competition, then maybe there's just enough food for one of us and there's two of us there, then there's going to be competition. But if there isn't that competition, that we should be trying to help each other, and that we should be trying to preserve the rest of mankind. And then unless it's for the purpose of justice, you don't have the right to take away or impair the life or things that help preserve the life, liberty, health, and limb or goods of another. Now you might say, hey, isn't this common sense? And religious for all of times have touched on some of these issues. But you also have to appreciate that this is a time when kings and emperors ruled the world. What gave them that right? Why are some people slaves and other people not slaves? Why are certain people in that world have a right to own these other people? And this too is a very controversial idea, and it's challenging these fundamental notions of who should rule, who has the right to rule, and to what degree should people control over one another. So given these challenging notions of the Enlightenment, and John Locke was only one of the actors that figured prominently during these periods, it's no surprise that it's against the late 1700s and early 1800s your whole string of revolutions, especially in the Americas, to a large degree inspired by the ideas of the Enlightenment. It's that life and liberty and health, it was the Declaration of Independence, that these things are cited. During the French Revolution, these things are cited. In various revolutions in Latin America, these ideas are cited. One of the reasons that the Enlightenment came about when it did is because not only do we have new tools of thinking and the opportunity to challenge notions, but it's now that society had the responsibility to think deeper about this, because it was getting more and more powers in the scientific community, and that those powers were even becoming more significant when science was applied during the Industrial Revolution. Now society could produce more than it could ever produce before. And we talk about this all the time. The Industrial Revolution had so many raw materials and a certain hunger for a market for which to sell your finished product. It also allowed for more powerful weapons and to project power and to control a larger empire, and methods of communication and methods of force. And many historians tie it directly to the age of imperialism, where especially Western European powers saw areas to get raw materials and markets in which they could push their finished products. So the industrialized world had more and more power. These ideas of the Enlightenment became even maybe more prevalent even though they might not have been implemented consistently during the age of imperialism. As we see, and the technology keeps accelerating during the Industrial Revolution, the philosophy and the moral framework does not accelerate along with it. During the 20th century, this is one of the bloodiest centuries in all of human history. So let me leave you with a final series of questions. As we go into the 1800s and we talk about the various independent movements, we also have the abolishing of slavery. Most of the world around us are, and it's like to some degree like the Enlightenment is coming to be at this time, but at the exact same time you have the age of imperialism, where more and more control is exerted over people around the planet. This all comes to a head in World War I, which is one of the bloodiest conflicts in all of human history. So what age and to what degree in this age did the Age of Enlightenment help the world? In some way, did things like World War I and World War II, the birthing pains, the transition state from the world before the Enlightenment? And how close are we truly to those ideals today? That's very important to discuss all of these things. We're going to talk about human rights and how we as a civilization have attempted to address these things after World War II and still yet failed. In this campaign, I contend to you as your happy healer for president that I will address each and every one of these issues. I will stay addressing these issues, and we're going to go right now to the video that we remastered. This is from the speech the other night. Very important, picking up on more of these ideas. It runs for about 30 minutes, and then right after this, I'll be back, and we'll go ahead and go over some more of this information. All of it is critically important, so just stick with us. This is a fast-moving train. We have a lot to do. We have to raise our country's morals. We have to bring the fabric of America up. We have to be able to achieve the success that should have repaid the American exceptionalism to the mother, father, the American family, the child, the grandmother. All people in this country, they deserve a better life. We're going to get it for them in this campaign. Tonight at past midnight Eastern local happy healer time and past 9 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, your happy healer for president is here now live with you. Here I am. Yes, it is true. Times now, they couldn't be more concerning. It is time to take a stand in our country, and we just know how true it is. You know, I just can't tell you the kinds of visions that I have just from my intelligence alone, from which the clear future that we all know is just right there. We could almost touch it. Either way, it could be great or it could be bad, and we have the ability within the human spirit to get it done. That's why I appeal to you to reach with me into that human spirit and to pull out the love is the only thing that has any possible hope of overcoming the greed that is killing our nation, our people, our way of life, driving us into a war in which we are losing with ourselves, with our enemies, and it doesn't stop until we have our complete destruction. So we have to get serious about our times. We have to have grown-ups show up to the room that have the talent and the forethought to get the job done, and the leadership and the inspiration to inspire the people. And that, I contend, is your happy healer for President Keith Landi. To me, it's obvious anyway. Oh man, it just couldn't be so much more obvious to your happy healer love, because we know how serious these times are, that if we don't react now, that we'd either face a certain death because of our global environmental problems that we're not bringing in, the times that will solve those problems, my fellow Americans. We have to do this work. If we don't get to this work and we continue to play Donald Trump's petty squabbles, then we'll continue to lose down this road in the Civil War. And either side only gives us a civil war. Every single time each one of these guys ever tell you, I am not prepared to be president of the United States, you just remind yourself that they are walking us directly into a civil war. This world is a place where nothing exists. We're spinning on this blue planet in the middle of a large pitch black darkness with gleaming streams of stars through the summer night. We have life on this planet, and life itself is a miracle, yet it all goes back to the first point. Nothing exists. Nothing is a very scary thing in the world of happy healer love. Love is everything in that world. Hate and the opposite of faith says hang on to the reality of our experiences, the materialism, but nothing insists or tells us to hang on to love. Love is an automatic human response, repurposed and repackaged and recirculated when it is at its very best. Yet, the very experiences we have in this place that was created for us by something and from somewhere does one thing over and over. It causes doubt. And that doubt reinforces that the truest essence and value in this world is nothing. That is the net result of lack of faith, folks. Indeed. We have all the reason and common sense alone tells us to believe. And yet, because of the hell that we see and the constant no-show on the part of any third party to intervene, again conveys and confirms the existence of nothing, no love. Where there is no love, there is no hope. And your Happy Healer's candidacy for president, we get beyond all of that stuff very fast. Because your Happy Healer is fast, furious, and foremost always a believer with true faith. Love is what comes out of that. The answers seem to come straight through the divine, and when love is watching and looking for in this time, then it's what you're looking for. You just come up empty. And folks, it's our main reason for being here. It is our purpose, best represented in the candidacy that was brought up by the very power that will also fix our national security threats that we clearly face in our country. And it's love from the bottom up. Compare that from the hate from the top down, and love wins every time. That is the power of love. I perceive, I convey, and I relay, and I love because it's our deepest, most important task, and simply because it works. It allows your Happy Healer for president to go about doing the great work of our time with a clean, precise vision of what must get done. And today's confusion is comforting love, but so much more. It's also the clarity you seek in times of confusion. It makes the next move so obvious. I'd be the only president that sleeps well at night knowing that we are appealing to the highest, most powerful force in the universe, and that we're smart enough to have done it doing all of the right things for the people, and all out of love. And the people will sleep well too, because I come representing Americans who love and want a better future than a civil war that others are acting like is our fate. If it's our fate to have a civil war, then in our campaign, then you automatically know that when I say we are the only qualified candidates, yet we all represent our candidacy and the love that made it possible. We shall never forget that every time I make new progress and another step up, it's all of us going up together. I wouldn't leave any of us behind. Not the billionaire who is also held down in a world at the heart of it is a human being without the full spectrum of the human spirit present, which can only be present in love. Love serves all. We are all victims to this greed. The right people are the American people, and in our campaign of love, not least love for a party over love for each other, but love unites Americans, even the distant Americans, from one another, and makes our union in that love stronger than ever. This is a campaign of love, but it's also a campaign of strong, steadfast leadership and the vision that we can all trust in. And that love, coupled with courage and vision, guides our way in these trying times. That love will result in and ensure so much more progress, driven by the progress of passion and the results that we achieve, and the results that ultimately become the derivative of love that works for the American people. That love which brings in the correct results, the only results that have ever mattered, which makes all of the other candidacies cease to matter in the face of the Happy Healers candidacy, and that is our campaign. And I am nothing without you. I never forget that. Remember, I started from nothing, and when you lift me up, you empower me, and henceforth, us. Think of this. Our enemies seek to destroy us by sparking the flames under our discourse and incivility, which has led to a soft civil war now playing out in the United States of America. To be honest, folks, it's a bad case for freedom itself and self-determination. Our very self-determination is under attack, and so is freedom itself in this civil war, and make no mistake about it. But realize, this isn't the people's actions. And if we are to realize, protect, and defend, and live a free, happy, and wholesome life that ensures self-determination, then you know that we're doing right, because that's the story behind our founding. Because of love and because of you. That's right. Don't listen to what anyone tells you, because it's all spin and only helps those who seek to divide us. We need unity, and it takes love. Your Happy Healer love has that in huge stockpiles and on reserve, and we call upon you to come on by and pick some up. It's so easy to transfer and can never be blocked. Why? Because it's the power of God, the embodiment of love and truth. The difference between me having no food at all and being here talking to you, running for president of the United States or not, is love. I am your Happy Healer love, and that is so fitting and perfect for me and my particular candidacy for president. Remember, it was never about me having to be president, but just one of us who love and with longing one best of times and understands fully that demonizing any segment of our population is just another form of the hell that we are already in that is fueling our civil war. So, it is fitting that my candidacy starts at rock bottom, where I am literally without medical, my dental issues, my house is under foreclosure, and so much more. Yes, it's true that I love, and that love does not pay so well in America. We are going to change that and let the essence of God fix all of our problems, which is love and truth when we need it most. It's really love in place of fake hate and lies, but so many other things as well. We have to be sharp, and love and makes it all possible. It's really love in place of fake hate and lies and so many other things as well, and we have to be sharp, and love makes it all possible. Yet I get the most important ingredient correct every time, and that we know it works, and it's fitting, and it's the way out of our mess, and I was convinced from the start. And that is why I say it's fitting that I start out humble, yet a whole man shining with envy for God and with love that God's honest truth is the way forward in life. And now with this situation, America's greed spiraling out of control, our very lives are at stake. Indeed, and in fact, you know just as much as your Happy Healer love that love is the only way forward. And that, folks, is the candidacy of your Happy Healer, your Happy Healer love. God bless you. God bless this great country too. And may God bless the United States of America. Make sure you donate, get involved in this campaign, and follow what we are doing, for we are the campaign that has the answers for the American people that work for all of us. God bless you, and good night. We will be introducing a special concept tonight in our drive to victory. Love in a real and complete way. I'm going to speak like a politician of the past instead of today's modern political version of fake sincerity. I propose to my religious friends that this is the most powerful weapon that we have, that this is the embodiment of God himself. We feel this truth every time I feel love, just as I feel love for you at this moment when these words to you, and we know how powerful that love is, and just the way it's dealt out by your Happy Healer love. And we'll win the day like never before. And that's if we can get to the very essence of what we mean by self-determination. my fellow Americans. What we have here today is a lack of any determination at all. Today, it is more like indetermination than determination. It's the head into a civil war without a clue of a sense of even why. I ask the average American who don't know, and either do I. It's just conjecture, and the truth has been sitting there the entire time, God's way, enough to be alarmed. So happens that God's way is the right way for all of us, and I strongly contend, and I will prove in this candidacy, and I make a very hard bargain to deny, and I shall always keep it that way. We are going to save our union and save our democracy and indeed save our very way of life by appealing to the only power that can work in these trying times, in my view. It's this or we fail. I'm certain if you stick with me in this campaign that you'll discover that exact truth. If you can't see it clearly already, I think many of you, when you're being honest with yourselves, we've talked about many of those threats are, but indeed, make no mistake, one of those critical threats is China in the threat of their war with the United States. They're in a technology war. And should we not join them soon and surpass and beat them in the area of technology and where we belong, and to reclaim our self-determination so that we can have our founding principles within our founding documents restored? We have to get back to that life now, and we have to be sensible in that, and we have to get it done. I think hard bargain here is quite clear with our challenges, and we're going to lose our very way of life, folks. And trying to surpass and overtaking our country is a very real threat, but not the only threat that can do us in, as it so happens to be. We have threats ranging from nuclear proliferation to global warming, and global warming is a major deal, and Trump doesn't make you feel better about this at all. These are desperate times, and we are so infuriated that nothing is being done about all of this. I can see the pain, and I know that plight, and I have lived that plight with you, and I continue to live that plight, and I will not stop living that plight until I have atoned that plight in the conditions of ordinary Americans, like myself. Senator Warren says she has a plan for everything, but I don't think she has a plan for me. And indeed, you bet I have a plan, my fellow Americans. I do have a plan. Why is it that I find it so incredibly easy what we must do, but all of my opponents do nothing? But they do bicker and whine and make many of us lose our sanity. And this is just being, as I like to say, a honest broker of truth. I will not be personally attacking my opponents, as they also need to be part of that solution. So it's true, and I do have a way, and it makes sense. It's that way. And stick with me like the very folks we have already, and watch what we can do. And I appeal to my brothers, and I appeal to my sisters. I appeal unto God himself. Citizens, activate. We are in the great time of our forefathers aforementioned, the great need for our self-determination so far back then, that's so media pressing now, and the current needs lacking, not met. We need to address this crisis that nothing short of a miracle, that crisis from which we must come, nothing but a miracle. I come with the love of God and with his people, and we are ready to do that work, my friends. I know I see every time another supporter says to me, and that the routines and struggles they see me going through, just as they do. We are ready for change, and it's from here that change always has happened, that when it has been the best throughout history, from what is the likelihood from all of those who have been in power, privileged. What are the odds that they have the answers of our time? What's to say they even at all answer of our times in recent past? These are the same people against all odds have been screwing things up, and it's just wrong. It's not that we're playing the odds game here, folks, and letting the best man of our times, like we can all agree on, and that speaks the answers, that talks to the issues of average Americans, that has the high privilege and honor of serving the American people unto victory. And that, my fellow Americans, is what is in our founding documents, and that is also in the embodiment of our self-determination and our spirit. Not our money, after all. With our spirit, we can create a whole new valley of life. Just as money today is valued by persons, we will build a super consumer just to develop a great new technological age and to see to the challenges of our times. And anything short will not be bold enough to have a real chance of success. And anything less would be a waste of our true abilities and our spiritual passion in that almighty love for each other and our Maker, in the senses that we come to make these changes now. We can all feel in these times that we have this true vibrant of self-determination that at which we are so free to exercise the miracle of this nation standing right before our eyes the whole time. Answering God shall we trust once more. God bless you, and a special thanks to two very special donors. Brenda, thank you for being part of the solution. For the times that we're in are so close to the end times, yet so close to the new age of spiritual enlightenment and a new way of doing business in America and brand new times. And we know that this is needed to avert the catastrophe that we're headed to. It does not care if we all lose, and in some cases prefers it. This is where we find ourselves smack directly in the middle of evil, trying to find the very nature of this monster of evil is easy to see from an honest broker of truth. We all know that it feels like we are in the apocalypse now, and it's now or never before, and it's coming so fast approaching and clear to see. Perhaps, too, is by design and a test for us to meet these times or fail, given for one reason or another. And there has never been a high number of practical and realistic end-time scenarios that is sure to meet humanity's next decade-ending scenario, and yet we have all always knew it would have to be dealt with within the next 20 to 50 years anyway. It's enough, and we must deal with these times if we are to pass the test of our times. And you know this, just as I say, to every honest broker of truth, you know it's true. So people of sound mind and sound judgment, come together and take this exercise in self-determination, and the best way to do that is to join our campaign for the very cause of freedom. For the freedom that will take us all the way straight off a cliff again the way they do it. And this time they'll take our people with them. However, make no mistake, our lack of already having been in this new age has cost many more millions of lives than wars alone in the past have. And war itself is a derivative of this exercise that we are up to in self-determination now. It's critical, and the need couldn't have been greater. One way, and we'll answer in that, is exactly where they take us, folks. Our self-determination. We must meet all these needs, and we have to unite our people once again, giving life to the American spirit and setting the best example for the world. And instead of making the worst case for self-determination, which is freedom, that we can instead make the best case for it. All we need to do is take care of humanity in our country and have the courage to get it done like never before. Indeed, this is a great new age of spiritual enlightenment for many of us, but just an enlightenment indeed that we need, so says all of us, and you know it too. Science and the spiritual world are one on this and so much more in reality, because this world in which science studies God's world, so says your happy healer. And I have Brenda here, that she did send to me some of these sustenance that I need, like socks, and I will tell you that Brenda has been just like God and serving for God for me. So we'll have a special on that touching event soon, showing you just how pulling together and what looking and seeing what love can precisely do, and each of us can play a role in that. And what can I say when I fell in critical times again, which I am almost out of at this very moment, but not even so long ago left. This test is for all of us, and yet we are also aware of the two Americas. Don't underestimate the spiritual reason why that's true, and how many people are feeling depressed and spending not nearly enough time on their spiritual studies. So doing the right thing also happens to raise the human spirit. Make no mistake about that, my fellow Americans. These many challenges can be dealt with, and many more that we have not yet known, because we as Americans do have self-determination right now still yet, and we have a very valid reason to be determined, because tough times are ahead. So you can look at it one way or another, but we have serious problems approaching us right now. Instead of failing to meet those times and suffer the consequences that failing holds, which includes a civil war, perhaps worse, maybe, but I'd rather just make the investment into a happy American spirit, which allows us to meet our challenges, and we have to take those challenges one day at a time, my fellow Americans, and I know we can do it. Take those days as they come, and let's fight for a future worth having. My fellow Americans, let us fight for a life worth living. It's time when people like Thomas Franey, who has set up and helped your happy healer, me, just today, continue to carry on this very mission, and I am inspired by your spirit. I am engaged. So again, I say unto the citizens of my two Americas in Orlando, Florida, citizens of this fate, activate now so that we can get this great work done. It starts here and it ends everywhere, folks. That's just the way it goes either way. We're headed for an age of enlightenment, just like the one we've already had in the past. This isn't the first time. This is a new age of development for the human being, and that the best love and that love love itself is the greatest skill in life, that it's the greatest gift, that since we have the ability and the need to do it now, and that we just need the courage, so we all get that done. Why not? After all, it's exactly what we all want. Conservatives, liberals, come together. We have an America to save, and we have to participate now in the good times to do what's right for America and have foresight. This is self-determination and doing something about being overworked and underpaid. We have no choice anyway, my fellow Americans. This is the time, and it's so much more than a call to action. It's the only way forward. It's our only way to meet the challenges of our times. It's clear the natural time in the end just always makes the natural sense. And perhaps God's plan, which in its very nature, should we fail to meet these goals, then we'll fail to pass the test of our time, my fellow Americans, would be something even any scientist would tell you is true. I may sound very zealous, and I am, and I love my Creator with all of my heart, and He has carried me through the day on countless occasions. I kid you not. I am also proud that I can now stand up and stand out and step up to take the courage to do what it seems nobody else is doing this pivotal time in American history. So I say stand up and be counted. Donate to this campaign, the Happy Healer campaign, and let's get involved and be part of unity instead of part of war. I leave you folks with a photo that I took on the road the other day. That's on the picture. It was on the back of a pickup truck, and I thought it would make the perfect call to action in picture. And I also get it to do it this way, and I perceive it myself to be. It says, put on the full armor of God, folks. What is the full armor of God? How can I put on the armor of God? The armor of God is a metaphor in the Bible, Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 and 18, that both reminds Christians about the reality of spiritual battle and describes the protection available today. The full armor of God takes Christians to cause and to comprise of the belt of truth and the breastplate of righteousness and the gospel of peace and the shield of faith and the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit. And my fellow Americans, as your happy healer, President Democrat Keith Landi, I plan to do exactly that, my fellow Americans. Put on my full armor of God and take this true gospel to the White House. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. That, my fellow Americans, is the truth for this Wednesday evening. Get involved in this campaign. God bless you. God help us all. This is a call to action. Donate, get involved, and let's grow this movement. God bless you. God bless America, and take care. Sounds weird to me without music. And so I'm doing an updated, edited version anyway. And what'll happen is unbelievable. I'm gonna go back inside. Oh boy. I'll tell you. They sure do like to. This is what's happening. This is the real life. This is the life that we have to contend with. I don't like what I see. I can't control it. I can't make it go away. I can just try to be part of the answer and actually do it in a way that is decent, that gives back. It's the right thing to do. And if we don't get around to doing things the way that we know is responsibly right, then we all have to kind of deal with what comes out of that. And it just feels like we should be able to do better. And that's my thinking on it. And so just try to get out of this crazy frame of mind. And it's not healthy. Try to be healthy. Try to think healthy. And to have, that's why I say, that's why I bring the Happy Healer along with me, because it has some pretty good happy healing methods that actually work. And these happy healing methods, you can literally take to the bank. They've worked very well for me and my friends. And I'm so happy about that. I'm so proud about that. It's not something I'm selling. I'm just trying to help improve our society. It's really scary what's going on. And people are really losing themselves. And we have to think about that. We have to really think about that. If we don't start doing something to address all of the despair that we're seeing around, then what's going to happen is things are going to get worse before they get better. And I really do fear that we are not doing the things we need to do to meet the tests of our time. And that's scary. We really can do so much better.
And we owe it to ourselves to do better as well, because unless we do take the initiative and respond in advance and with intent and do it now, then I don't think we're going to be able to achieve any progress that leads to the answers that will solve the severe issues that we're dealing with. And we know what they are. We have California that's sitting on so many earthquake zones and fault zones, and we also have Yellowstone that can erupt. We have other major global warming concerns. We have, aside from that, the human condition with greed. It's overtaking our lives, making it absolutely impossible to step forward. I contend that unless you address that, then life will continue to whirlpool into oblivion, because the average human being knows these things, really. The average human being knows these things, and they are deathly afraid. They're ready for change. And so they want to see somebody take leadership and be able to explain what is happening in a way that they can understand. That because I have been so happy healer, just loving, and that I've gotten really rid of all of my hate. Like, I've worked so hard to not have any resentments towards anyone for anything. And it just makes no sense. And so I can get angry, but I get over it quickly and I move on. And I don't try and blame things or have scapegoats. I just try to have reasons to get things right. You know, I say atone sometimes, and that's exactly what I mean by that. Make them right. Justice, get it to be where it's supposed to be. Because the American people have been suffering this for too long. It's not their burden. This is not their fault. And we shouldn't lose our self-determination when we have great lives. And that's exactly what's happening right now. We're headed down the road of losing our own self-determination. And we have to consider why we are doing that. It's just insanity at its worst level. We have to just pull back. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing my best for making the argument every day. And I just did the speech that I feel very strong about. And it played live, but it didn't have the music. And so it's just the way it went. That's fine. Well, what we'll do is we'll continue to make speeches that make sense to the reality that we're in, the conditions, of course, I contend solutions, and we'll continue to sell that plan to the American people. We'll make our case. Nothing should be given to anyone. That everybody makes a case, but do give a fair handshake. I think that's fair. And that you ask for a fair handshake, and so that you should get one. And that you're willing to discuss whatever it is, that you can explain things quite clearly. And our time, I think we can't afford for being so picky in terms of who has the right answer. And the reason why is because no one else has any answer that works for us. This is an answer that works. So unless we do things that make sense, like to actually have that spiritual enlightenment, and think about it. If just the people who say they are spiritually enlightened were to now go Democrat and vote for me, then we would lead the Democrat Party and we would win Trump. That's clear. The Democrats would come with us and we would beat Trump. Now let's just say the spiritual people and also just the people of reason, because this is a very sound argument. It's based on reason. That's why I say science is part of this argument, because I believe in God wholeheartedly, but I believe science and everything here in this world is a product of God's creation. It just makes perfect sense. I mean, if there is a God, there is no other way than that science is also a part of God's creation. So I just have very common sense policies that I've come to, and I talk with common sense. I speak to the average man. I don't understand why the politicians can't do that. Then I say, yes, I can, because they are not one of us, so they would never know. And they just don't have that same outlook. And that what we need is trust in this time. We need trust, and we need vision, and for somebody to have the courage to do it. And I don't think I see anybody out there with the courage, and quite frankly, I have that courage. I do. Because I know that if not, it'll be far less courage than having to deal with the hell we're all going to have to deal with. Apparently, many of you think that it takes less courage. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. Come with me on this journey, and then you can actually be a part of something so very special, and at the same time, you can go ahead and act with courage without actually having to make the sacrifice of running yourself. Knowing all this stuff is true now, that you do know, and I also know it's true. And so do us all a favor and get involved and help in the campaign, donate, do what you can, get groups, knock on doors, share the message if this is what you want to. Very simple. I drive a very hard bargain. Okay, folks, thank you very much for listening, and we shall talk to you soon.
All right, welcome back. And this is your happy healer, Keith Landi. And I'm going to be getting you this view here in just a moment. Bear with me. There we are. Welcome back. And let's get our background music queued back up. There we go. Right back into our special place. Our special home. Welcome back. You guys are so great. I have to say, for those of you who are just there with me every step of the way, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, because this is not going to be easy. We just have to pull the courage to do what is right in our time, or accept that we'll fail to meet the challenges of our time. It's just really that simple. And when you know how true that is, and you're your happy healer, well, that just makes the need even more greater, because I have that truth. I know that truth. I live that truth. I've helped others live that truth, and this is the kind of thing we can all do better with. We all rise our tides together. Nobody's left out. So when we go into a new age of enlightenment, we are learning. It's a dedication to self and to each other. So make no mistake about it. And we're talking about why it's important that we go into a new age of enlightenment. So important, and why? Because some of the things that we're dealing with today, such as the violence on the streets, I see it right outside my home. It's just so real. And for those of us who are part of the communities in which we live, we know how real it is. So true. We have to start putting our fellow brothers and sisters before the greed that has taken over our society. In the past, it used to be that capitalism was easily accepted because it provided for us the best answers of our time. But not now, because essentially right now, we are up against the ability to do so much better. Our sciences, everything about American life has improved, technology, yet the American, 50 years ago, worked one job, 40 hours a week, provided for their families, was able to have their spiritual studies and their time together, something we can't have in the year 2019. Folks, please. Please. This is so much more than a call to action. And you know it's true. That's why I like to say honest broker of truth. Because you know it's true. It's not even deniable. So we just go with that truth. And we don't question it too hard. Just hard enough to make sure that we know we're on to the truth. Because when it's God's truth, you feel that truth, don't you? And that's the difference when you're actually working with the real truth that we see around us every day, that we're living in every day, that kills our spirit every day. That truth. And that's the truth that they try to confuse us and to make us believe that it's the right versus the left, when in reality we're proving in this campaign that we can come together even before an election, even while the candidates have already lost themselves in this election. That's why I'm the answer. That's why I'm here. Because all the other candidates have essentially lost it. All the other options for America equal failure for America, a failed state. Instead of having been able to exercise its independence and show its cause to freedom and be able to live up to the ideals of our founding fathers, self-determination. That's exactly what we could have done, and it's still what we can do in this campaign. So that's why I'm running, and you know that it's a good cause. And what I would like to do now, I'm going to turn down this background music just a tad here. What I'm going to do now is I have a special program which is a behind the scenes of our last speech that we did. I want you to see a little bit more about your Happy Healer for President, and I want you to see what I'm about. And I'm a great guy. I come out with my truth boldly because, for one thing, we all have our own truths. And that, quite frankly, when we're honest about who we are and the challenges that we've dealt with through our lives, that we all learn. And that you could tell precisely who I am to the bone. It's so important to me. Because otherwise, my very nature for running for president would be no different than those other guys. And I'm not like those. I have to be able to sleep at night because I'm doing a job for the American people. So I definitely make sure I come to the table as a clean and whole individual person first and foremost above all. The other candidates, they don't even have that at all. Just remember that. And so we're going into this new election season. You've got your Happy Healer to contend with now. And that you should really consider that. And every time you hear one of these candidates say something that you know already to be a lie, or that you know already is stoking the Civil War, that they can't see beyond their triggers to pull back, that they can't make reasonable choices in the moment, that why should we then give them the power? You tell me. Because that's why I'm in this race. And I'm becoming a better speaker every time I move forward. And you could see even how the progress is taking over. Remember those folks who started so long ago and just what we were doing at that time? That's because I was still focused on learning a lot of the media that now I find very easy to do, that we get better, and that's the kind of president we need that can adapt with times. There's just so many good and qualifying factors for your Happy Healer for President of the United States. Not to mention, I bring the Happy Healer along with me. This means we can really make our children believe. We can make our parents believe too, because I come with full faith in God and that you are so special, that I am so special, that all of us are so incredibly special. I know how true it is. And so, when I am inspiring you, and we're achieving great things for our country and our families, you know why we're doing it. Because we're channeling into God's special word, that truth that truth that works for all of us, that unbiased truth that we can all plug into and that we can all draw back from. That truth. So that's the truth that these other candidates always run from every time. But not this candidacy, because we win in the truth. That's why one of my sayings is an honest broker of truth. And you know why now. It's so important to know that. Yeah, so we're coming at you always with so much passion and so much love. I just can't even hardly contain myself, to be honest. But we move at all kinds of paces. Sometimes we're sprinting. Sometimes we're walking. Sometimes we're hardly moving. But we're always going forward. And the times that we're hardly moving, we already know what those times are from. And that's because we have to just live in this world that has no love, that does not value that love, that you can have a life dedicated to love, just like your happy healer does. And that love doesn't pay so well in America. And that actually, that fact represents so many artists in America. Why do you think many of these people have lost their wealth? They lost that wealth because they actually spent their wealth as they earned it, giving back as soon as they were able to receive anything. They always got their joy from being in that, as I like to call it, human humdrum. It's the human humdrum. And I love to be in it. And so that's why I do what I do. Because I get that reward of just doing the right thing. And I know that it gives back. I feel that energy. And I feel that zealous mission, that selfless mission that is meant for all of us to do well. And I have all of that coupled with the undying need right here. The fact is so clear in my mind from all the truth that I know that these guys, for better or for worse, whether they mean to or not, they're taking us into a civil war. And so we have to pull back. And we have to have sound leadership that's able to show calm and that can reinforce that calm and that can help a nation sit back and gain its self-determination back again. The same self-determination it's losing right now. Every time that we lose a freedom, you know we are losing our self-determination at the same time. Never forget that. It's so incredibly important to remember in today's world where every day we have somebody else telling the other guy what law they want them to live by. And then you have it going back the other way too. I have just so passionately called it freedom warfare. And this is the worst thing. Don't find yourself victim to freedom warfare. You will find yourself in even a smaller box with which you have to conduct your life. And it's getting smaller and smaller in America. It's hardly recognizable. We're not meeting the challenges of our time that China is able to step in and work on this great new technological age that really belongs to America. But we're losing it because we're not fighting for it. Apparently it doesn't matter much to some of these people, but it matters to me. Oh, you better believe that. So I'll continue fighting for a life worth living. We all have to. If we are to survive the next decade. Many people realize we have to make changes. I realize that too. So let's be a grown-up. Let's do what's right. And you know, if we're ever to have a chance to make solid and quick progress in the area of a spiritual revolution, which is a much better revolution than all the other revolutions that involve so much death and so much despair, which is basically what's happening. And we do it by peaceful means because it's just an election like every election. Donald Trump indeed was a revolution when it happened, wasn't it? So here we're talking about nothing different, but this time we're going to enlighten our people. And we recognize that in order to do that, we have to have somebody who is pure from the bottom, that is not perfect, but has been living their life as a happy healer. That's right. And if you watch my material, you'll know what a happy healer is. And they love God first and foremost. They always give the credit back to God, and they love each other so much. And that a happy healer, always what's most important is truth and love. That's right. Truth and love together, they are dynamite. That means you love everybody you come in contact with, but you apply truth. That means nice guys don't have to finish last anymore. That means we can be grown-ups in the moment and we can do the tough work we have to do, but we can also love. And that gets so much done. And that's exactly the right kind of leadership we need in these trying times. So I contend I have the best disposition out of all of the candidates based on my life experiences, and I will prove that through this campaign. You better believe that. There is no other candidate more qualified than your happy healer for president right here out of Orlando, Florida. And we are setting up on this coming Sunday at 3 p.m. It's town hall of sorts right here. I don't suspect there'll be a lot of room, but we'll make the space we can. If we get more people than what my home can handle, then we'll just take it to another venue. But we're going to start taking actionable steps to bring this community together based on this idea. Because we know we deserve it. Because we know other people are already on board and they've already responded. And the word is 10-4, go forward, go fast, don't stop. And that is why I say back to you, make sure you donate and become a sponsor of what we're doing. Always be a sponsor of what the Happy Healer is doing, because we're always doing selfless good work. And we need to be a sponsor of each other. And that's why it's so important in this campaign, we build new happy healers. And we show that we can be loving and compassionate. You can call it whatever you want, quite frankly. But at the end of the day, we have to love. And in this campaign, we're on the love train. Love is the most ultimate power of our Creator. So that's the power we're going with. Mirror it with truth and you have a home run. Okay, folks, what I'd like to put up next here for you is none other than behind the scenes coverage of the big speech from the other night. Although this night's turning out to be a pretty big night too. So we'll go ahead and cut the music. The background music is out. And enjoy.
p.m. and 9 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. Your Happy Healer for President live in person will be introducing a special concept in our Drive to Victory practical version.
Love in a complete and real way. Tonight at past midnight Eastern local Happy Healer time and past 9 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, your Happy Healer for President is here now live with you. Here we go. This is for you, Doc. We love you. And this is like the behind the scenes. I really do believe this is going to go somewhere. And that's just the way I feel about it. Because we have the right answers. Nobody has the answers that we have. That's so exciting. Because I know then that it gives me the opportunity to win. These guys can't even touch the truth we have. I'm confident of that. Okay, folks, here we go. It is so ready, isn't it? It's so timely. We have to take our country back, and this is exactly the way we do it. Tonight at past midnight Eastern local Happy Healer time and past 9 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, your Happy Healer for President is here now live with you. Here I am. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Amazing progress. We're doing great with the show. I feel like we're getting you guys just the information you need here. And we're talking about specifically the Age of Enlightenment that we really have to enter, and we have to be serious about it if we expect to confront the challenges. Folks, be honest with yourselves. We want to deal with racism. We want to deal with bigotry. You know how to do this. We want to change the human soul. Aren't we trying to make us better a bit? And that's why I'm making that case. And I told you I would. So let's carry on, shall we? And there was a need to have a system of justice and to organize and grow stronger or fail as a species as well. Because we're here with purpose, in that we're being purpose-driven is a reason for living. Right now, most Americans have lost their reasons to carry on or simply have never had an idea and still don't. I get that. I get and I know what it's like, because we can all be part of the solution, and it could be right around that corner. If we just give ourselves the chance to believe in the right to hope and a path to victory, let me tell you now that we can really win this thing. Because I truly believe, and I know we to do this, and the best part about it is that we will gain so much with the freedoms and with new abilities. A future that's long awaited us needs to be ushered in. Even though it's being naturally coming in, we have to really push it forward because our backs are against the wall. And if we're to survive the calamities that are coming our way, then we better get serious about solving our current issues with real solutions. The awesome thing about this is that we get to address the problems, but at the same time, we improve human life. We make it worth living. We make it better. We have to worry about everything from Yellowstone and terrorism, and we are under attack by our very own people from both sides of the political spectrum. We're under attack by nation states as well as Americans in the backwoods and the cities of our countries, and I call them angry, triggered, and alienated Americans. A 21st century product of our two Americas widening ever distant from years past. Our objective is to spend the use in wrong energies instead of using truth, justice, and the American way and showing love. Our founders had the idea right to set us up for this moment, for this new age of enlightenment. Think about it. They actually had in their founding documents the words that give us self-determination, that makes what we're doing now possible. Never forget that when we sail about this future, we're doing that great work in this campaign. So, as you can see, this was so much to cover this evening. And I want you guys to continue to follow these messages. Go to the website and see exactly what it is we're talking about over and over again. And I'll continue making the progress that I make, and my speech patterns will continue to get better as I find myself through this next endeavor. Because that's what it is. Everything is a phase. It's an evolution. Just like I said earlier, when people were watching the evolution, they would comment on it and how it's changed over time, and there is nothing short of that happening here as well. So I am so proud of all of you who have been involved. Coming into tomorrow, there's going to be more challenges. I have so much more behind the scenes coverage to share with you, and we have so many things planned, like this coming Sunday, the town hall. We'll have that recorded as well and be able to share that with you guys. So we are really pushing forward and doing what we can in this campaign. And I'm very concerned about where we are financially, only because it makes us weaker. And we need to push this message hard with strength. And I feel so right for these times because I'm talking the answers that nobody else seems to even see and they're not talking about. And for those that get it, they're not being heard. I get your plight. Oh boy, I do get your plight. And that's a lot of us. And so that's why I'm here, and I recognize how many of us are having this spiritual awakening, realizing that the hell of life, it teaches us lessons. I came at you today with a little bit of a lower energy just to try to appeal to every person. We can't lose a single person because of style. We have to be nimble. I said that from the get-go. So our style will also be nimble. You better believe that. And we'll get better. We'll get better and better. So I pull from the ideas that I know work. And one idea that works is love. Every time. I'm so happy about that. So we are fighting for a future worth living. I am your honest broker of truth. Happy healer, Keith Landi. And we'll see you guys soon. Keep getting involved. Donate. I cannot say it enough. And sponsor this message and contact me. My phone number here for the campaign is 407-984-5075. This is a ground up movement, so we're doing it differently. We're doing it differently. Just get out of your idea how they've always done it. Realize in this campaign, we're taking leadership. We're doing it differently. So there's the number. Contact your happy healer for president this coming Sunday. Right here in Orlando, Florida. I don't care if you're wherever, you can come to this. This is important. This is our country, and it's our opportunity to address these things. Now I'm picking up just a bit because we're closing out, but realize you guys have to have a voice, and your voice is this campaign. This is the one that gives us the unity and the life worth living. We'll see you soon. God bless you. Take care.